Alright, what is up my friends? Welcome to the final installment of the Lost Caverns of Ixalan complete set review. Every card, constructed, limited. We're doing it all, alright? And we are getting into perhaps one of the more interesting sections of the set. This is the Colorless section. Normally kind of like an afterthought, but there are a lot of really interesting lands in this set. We're going to need to go over the caves. We've been discussing the entire set review, all the cards that work with caves. Now we're going to see the actual caves. Anything missed on YouTube, folks, go back and watch the prior 6 installments of this all up on YouTube. Make sure the like button, please. Helps it a ton if you like every video. If you enjoy the content, these are a lot of work, and I really appreciate your support. So please take a half second. It's the least you can do. Hit the like button. Appreciate that. Thanks so much. We also got 10 new brews coming up next week on Thursday. I'm very excited about it, as you can see. And let's freaking go, folks. All right? Let's do this. Cave time. Not yet. We have artifacts to do first. Buried treasure. Let's search for treasure. 2 mana for an artifact treasure. You can sacrifice it any mana of any color. Or you can spend 5 mana and exile it from your graveyard to discover 5. Only as a sorcery. This card's kind of cool. I like this card. So, 2 mana for a treasure is obviously awful. Treasure should cost probably... I mean, at most 1 mana, that's still pretty terrible. I'd say a treasure is worth like 0.5 mana, probably. But the fact that you get to just exile this from your graveyard later on and just discover 5, which is Cascade for 5, basically, is pretty good, honestly. So, that's cool. I like this card. Is it good? I don't know, honestly. I mean, if you're playing artifact synergy stuff, it could definitely be a thing. But, kind of sweet, honestly. I like it. Kini Minecart. This is an uncommon 3 mana vehicle for 3. Whenever it attacks, make a treasure accrue for 1. This card's good. Attacking and making a treasure is a pretty powerful ability. There's a lot of things in the set about like sacrificing artifacts or artifacts coming into play or whatever. Size reasonably well. Anything can accrue it. Seems fun. It's not quite on the level of like, you know, Runaway Renegade Freighter or whatever it was, but still a pretty good one. Pretty solid limited card for sure. Constructed, no, but... Next up is Cartographers Companion. This is a 3 mana 2/1. ETB, make a map token. This seems only reasonable if you are actively doing really aggressive artifact things. This makes 2 artifacts. This is a pretty bad rate. If it was a 2/1 for 3 that explored once, it would still be very fringe playable. So the fact that you have to make the map token and then use the map on this or something else is very, very mana intensive. But it is 2 artifacts. So there are things that want to tap artifacts for value, things that care about artifacts entering the battlefield, things that care about sacrificing stuff. So if you're desperate for that kind of effect, this card seems okay, but seems pretty mediocre otherwise in limited. Chimmel, the Inner Sun. Cool art. This is a 6 mana mythic rare legendary artifact. Spells you control can't be countered. Note that this itself can be countered. Beginning of your end step, discover 5. That's a pretty cool effect. So every turn, you discover 5. Discover forces like Cascade. So basically, you'll be cascaded to hit a 5-drop. You can put the card in your hand if you don't want to cast it. But that is pretty powerful. You're just casting a free spell every turn. But 6 mana is a lot. You know, just tapping 6 mana for this thing, you're just going to play it, and then hope you draw a good card off of it. I don't know. It's kind of a cool card. If there's some way to like cast this really, really fast, it could be a thing. But it does seem a little more fun than good, but it's kind of a cool card. And then limited, this card seems pretty good. 6 mana, you know, hopefully the card you hit will affect the board. Can't be sure, but hopefully. And then you can untap and then, you know, kind of ride the victory. But cool card. Probably not great, but at 5 mana, maybe we're talking. But we got Compass Gnome, which is a 2 mana 2/1. This is a pretty common card we see in limited these days. Just a 2/1 for 2 artifact creature that EDB search for a land and put it on top. The important thing here, this card can find a cave, which is much more important than finding a basic land. So it can be a mana fixer, but you can also find your awesome cave card, which is very, very important. I think if you're caving, this card's going to be excellent, because there are cards that care about getting enough caves in play to do things, and this card will help you find them, which is great. And then you also can just mana fix too, which is pretty great as well. So card's very solid, I think, if you're playing the cave deck, and then fine otherwise if you're splashing. Not a card you like actively want in your deck. You know, you're I'm dying for more Compass Gnomes, you know, but a perfectly reasonable card. Can set up Explore too, which is kind of cute as far as like you could if you want to guarantee the land. But yeah, I don't know what the hell I'm looking at. I agree. It's like I don't really know what the art is depicting, but whatever. Cards, good limited card, very reasonable. Contested Game Ball. It's meant for an artifact. Whenever you're dealt combat damage, the attacking player gains control of this card and untaps it. You pay 2, you draw a card and put a point counter on the game ball. Then if it has 5 more point counters on it, sacrifice it and make a treasure token. So this is sort of like a Maze Mind Tome or Reckoner Bankbuster that is going to be horrible against players attacking you, and then good otherwise. And a control mirror or something like that. This card's pretty interesting. If your opponent is ever able to steal this from you, that is pretty damn bad, honestly. So this mostly feels like a sideboard card for matchups where you are not going to be attacked at all. So, Esper control, maybe a ramp deck or something like that. Realistically, there isn't a Bankbuster style card in Standard right now, so this can fill that role. But it's pretty sketchy, honestly. And then in Limited, your opponents are always attacking you. So I think this card's maybe a sideboard card for like super slow matchups, but pretty eh. Dig Site Conservator is a 2-mana 2/1 uncommon. You can sack it to exile up to 4 cards from a graveyard, only as a sorcery. And then when it dies, you pay 4 if you do discover 4. Pretty cool card. Obviously, Descend is a very important mechanic in the set, counting cards in graveyard. So you have to exile 4 cards from a graveyard is like pretty bonkers as far as turning off Descend. And the fact you can pay 4 to discover 4 when you do this is pretty cool also. And it's a 2/1 for 2, which is fine too. So the card's pretty cool. I like this card a lot. Maybe a card you sideboard in Limited and don't always want to start. But when it's good, it will be very, very good. And then discovering 4 is also pretty good too. So card's solid. I think this card's pretty reasonable Limited card. More of a sideboard card, but reasonable. Disruptor Wanderglyph is a 4-mana common 3/4. Whenever it attacks, exile a card opponent's graveyard. Similar, right? So you have the same idea. Not really a particularly great card. But if your opponent is descending super hard, this card can come in and kind of help you in that regard. The body is not great, but it's fine. 3/4 for 4 certainly can attack, a number of times safely. So just like a finicky sideboard card for Limited. Hoverstone Pilgrim is a 5-mana 2/5 flying ward 2 uncommon. So honestly, a pretty decent body.
Oh my god, Becky.
Spend 2, put a card from a graveyard in the bottom of owner's library. Another artifact graveyard hate card for Limited. This card at least is playable by itself. I think if this card's in your main deck, you're not sad about it. A 2/5 flying ward 2 actually blocks almost everything. And then it can attack, it blocks well. And then you can either, script your opponent's Descend, or you can just buy back your own cards if the game's going to go really, really long, even like decking is a concern, which a defensive card would kind of make an issue. If you're self-milling and so on and so forth. Also, if you're self-milling, you can just only put your good cards at the bottom and so on and so forth, which is kind of cool. But yeah, definitely a fine card for sure. Probably the best of the graveyard hate cards we've seen so far. Hunter's Blowgun, 1-mana common equipment, plus +1. Has Death Touch as long as it's your turn, otherwise it has Reach, so it can push damage through. The problem here is that you want to front load your equipment costs. If this costs 2 and equip for 1, I think it'd be reasonable, but at equip 2, it's just way too clunky, I think. So probably not a card you want to play. Unless you have some way to you cheat with Death Touch, something like that. Metziltani, the Great Door.
It's a trap.
Trap card, folks. It's our 3-mana artifact. It loots. You can pay 4 and transform this only if there are 4 or more permanent types among cards in your graveyard. So artifact, battle, creature, enchantment, land, planeswalker. So much harder than Delirium because you can't have instant sorceries. If you do manage to flip it, it turns into the Core, which is a legendary land that has Fathomless Descent at X mana of any color. X is the number of permanent cards in your graveyard. So that is a very, very powerful land. This thing taps for 5 mana or whatever. That's busted. Totally insane. But this card is pretty bad on the front, right? So we have a 3-mana artifact. Doesn't affect the board at all. All it does is loot. Doesn't draw cards. Doesn't affect the board. It just loots, And there are a lot of better ways to loot if you're looking to loot in this format. And so that means you're playing this card to try and flip it. But 7 mana total with a whole bunch of work just to get a land taps for a bunch of mana is like, what are you going to do with the mana? So you have to play this card, not die. It has to live, use it a bunch of times. Get the cards in your graveyard you need to get there. Pay the mana, flip it, it survives. Get the land, and then have something profitable to do with the land. All while not losing, and then all while having it be actually worth doing. So more of a commander card, it feels like, where having 1,000 mana is actually a useful thing to do. But yeah, this card's probably unplayable in most constructed formats. Juice ain't worth the squeeze. It's as simple as that. You know, is what it is. Oops. So, moving on to Roaming Throne. This is a 4-mana 4/4 with Ward 2. EDB choose a creature type. It is a chosen type in addition to other types. If a triggered ability of a creature you control with the chosen type triggers, it triggers an additional time. So this is a Panharmonicon for tribal stuff, and it's also whatever tribe you want it to be. That's pretty cool. Question being, what do you want to do with this card? You know, you've played in Goblins. I mean, you've got Magician's Expert and Goblin Ringleader and Muxus, all pretty cool. It's not a goblin itself, though, in your hand, or you can't matron for it, stuff like that. You know, play it in an elf deck. It's a vampire. It is what it is. You can double trigger your Tali, I suppose. That's a thing you can do. You know, it doesn't work well with Merfolk as far as double exploring. The question is, like, is it, I mean, you don't want your setup card to cost 4 usually. So you play this card, then say go, then tap, and maybe use it. I don't know, honestly. You know, it's a pretty weird card because there are so many possible choices as far as creature type you can name and then abilities you can use that it's very hard to, like, what am I going to do with this card? At some point, I would be surprised if this card is something broken. But overall, I don't know. It seems just fine to me. You know, the stats are fine. It's reasonable. But it's a weird card. You know, definitely a build around D against the oddsy kind of card. I'll leave this card to Saffron Olive. All right, at the Panharmonicon's his thing, you know. Runaway Boulder. Dun, 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 dun. 6 mana for an artifact with flash. EDB, 6 damage to a creature an opponent controls. And then it has cycling too. This is your generic, like, overcosted removal spell. It is important to note this is a permanent you can cycle into your graveyard for Descend, which is kind of cool. And then, you know, it can obviously just be cast to kill things if you need to. It's clunky, it's expensive, but there also are cards in blue that can help you cast artifacts. So, like, they're like mana rocks for artifacts, which is kind of cool. And there are a lot of treasures in blue and red also. So this could be a better card in those archetypes where you can't kill big things always. So look for it, you know, in your draft deck. This is the kind of card that makes limited awesome, honestly, where it's not particularly great, but part of being a good limited player is figuring out when this card is going to be good and playing it in those spots. There you go. Scampering Surveyor. 4 mana for a 3/4/3/2. EDB, search library for basic land card or cave card. Put a tap and shuffle. Solemn Simulacrum, folks. Let's hear it for Solemn. This card's going to be phenomenal limited. As we were saying, caves are awesome. Finding the right caves is very, very important. This is a mana fixer. It's a ramper. It's a cave. A 3/2 body for 4 is fine. Trades pretty well. Card's great. Phenomenal limited card. Love it. Constructed, honestly, like, if it had an outside shot, I wouldn't be surprised. Because, you know, the effect is just pretty powerful. Probably not there. But I almost like that it has the 3 power because it blocks better than Solemn does. Despite not drawing a card, obviously. But, you know, slight fringe outside shot constructed, but limited phenomenal. Excellent draft card. Sorcerer Spy last returns with some really weird art. This is a reprint. It's a fringe cyborg card at best. You know what it does. Nothing new. Sunbird Standard is an uncommon 3 mana artifact, taps for mana of any color. You can craft with 1 or more. What does it mean?
Yeah.
Craft with 1 or more. Exile this artifact. Exile 1 or more other permanents you control and our card series. Just anything. It's just like a wild card. You craft with whatever you want, basically. And when you do that, you get a Sunbird Effigy. Flying Vigilance Haste Bird Construct. Power and toughness equal to the number of colors among the exiled cards used to craft it. And then you can tap for each color among the exiled cards used to craft this. Add a mana of that color. So, if you're playing 5-color BS in draft, this is the card for you. Meaning this is the card for me. Say it's, you know, if it's a 3/3 or 4/4, it's pretty awesome. But yeah, you know, it's a mediocre mana rock with some cool upside. Flying Vigilance Haste is pretty good. And then it has Vigilance with the with the tap ability too, which is kind of sweet. So kind of a cool limited card for sure. Constructed, no, but good limited card. Swashbuckler's Whip. 1 mana for artifact equipment. Equipped creature has reach. 2 mana, tap target artifact or creature. And 8 tap, discover 10. Is this real? This is a real card. Equipped for 1. So you put this on a creature, it's now a tapper, and then super late in the game you can discover 10 over and over again. Yeah, I mean, like, if your deck needs a mana sink, this is fine. Like, because you can just, you know, have it as a tapper, tap some stuff, whatever, buy time as the game's going on. Yeah, I mean, I'm looking forward to discovering 10. It's funny because discover 10 sounds so impressive. Discover 10, it's such a big number, you know? It's not really relevant. Like, you're probably hit a 2-drop anyway, you know? But yeah, definitely, yeah, that's a card. That's a card, so. Yeah. Tarian's Soul Cleaver. I'm for an equipment. A lot of equipment in the set. Legendary equipment, creature gets vigilance. Whenever another artifact or creature is put into a graveyard from the battlefield, put a +1/+1 counter on the equipped creature. Equips for 2. Another spot where I wish it cost 2 and equip for 1. You know, kind of cute with like an Amble deck or something like that, but like realistically, like, do you really need equipment in your Amble deck? I think this card's kind of mopey, honestly. I don't think this card's particularly great. Suppose if you are have sort of infinite loop, you could, like, you know, deal infinite damage or whatever. But yeah, overall, I think this card's kind of eh. Millennium Calendar. 1 mana for a mythic rare legendary artifact. Whenever you untap 1 or more permanents during your untap step, put that many time counters on the Millennium Calendar. Pay 2 and double the number of time counters on Millennium Calendar. When there are 1,000 or more time counters on the Millennium Calendar, sacrifice it, and each opponent loses 1,000 life. Pretty fun meme card, obviously. You untap 1 or more permanents during your untap step. So, I mean, you know, wins a game eventually, right? Like, you know, maybe your paradox engineering or whatever, you could do some kind of stuff like that. But yeah, it's a pretty silly card, fun meme card. It's honestly not that hard to get to 1,000 because, like, it's exponential if you're doubling it, which is pretty powerful, honestly. Oh, I'm sorry. It's only during your untap step, right? So you actually can't cheat the untaps with it. That's a good design, actually. But yeah, I mean, that's a pretty fun card. Probably build it like this card at some point, you know. Threefold Thunderhulk, 7 mana for a 0/0 rare creature. ETB with 3+1/+1 counters on it. Whenever it ETBs or attacks, make a number of 1/1 gnomes equal to its power, and you can sacrifice an artifact to put counters on it. So kind of similar to Mere Battlesphere. ETBs make some stuff, and then you can pay mana and make more stuff. Definitely a good, you know, bomby card for limited. For constructed, not really a thing for 7 mana, I don't think, unless you have some sort of Mishra's Workshop in Citadel that I'm not aware of. But yeah, big limited bomb, kind of a fun card. Whatever. Throne of the Grim Captain. This is a fun one. 2 mana for a legendary artifact. Tap to mill 2. You can craft this with a dinosaur, a merfolk, a pirate, and a vampire. So you have to have exactly one of each. Dinosaur, merfolk, pirate, and vampire in the graveyard. Pay 4 and craft it, and you get the Grim Capitan. 7/7, Menace, Trample, Lifelink, most important, hexproof. So very hard to kill. Whenever it attacks, each opponent sacrifices an online permanent. Then you may put a exiled creature card used to craft this captain onto the battlefield, under your control, tapped and attacking. So this is a really, really fun card. Because it's obviously an insanely large creature. It's pretty hard to kill, and then you get stuff back. And then we're just like, it's just a 2 mana artifact you get to mill some cards with. You can use changelings to make this thing work pretty easily as well. I'm sure there'll be an episode of Freshly Brewed at some point. Pretty fun card though. Pretty good payoff. Unfortunately, when you craft it, exiles, so it'll have summoning sickness. So it can't attack and gain life immediately, which would be really, really good. But aside from that, pretty fun. Pretty cool card, pretty fun build around. Not going to be a viable card constructed in any like serious fashion, but pretty fun card. Treasure Map's back! Aww. I love Treasure Map. Super fun the first time around. Absolutely adore this card in when it was legal in Standard last time. And just a really good card for mid-range decks, honestly. If you're mid-ranging, if you're kind of ramping, card's really good. Plays all the removal spells. You know, play it. Scry, kill a thing. Scry, kill a thing. Scry, kill a thing. Flip. Treasures, draw some cards. Just a good card. Really, really good card. Not much to say. Great and limited. Seen it before. Just a really good card. Turns to Treasure Cove. Taps at a Colorless. Tap pressure, draw a card. Just a really good card. And now onto the lands. So now we get to our caves. And this is an important part because we've discussed caves pretty extensively so far. We've seen all the enablers for caves. Haven't seen the actual caves yet. There are a lot of them. And a lot of them are very limited focused, obviously, like this first one here, which is Captivating Cave. This is a, Shimmering Grotto. Taps for a colorless, can filter for a mana of any color. You can also sacrifice to put counters on things, which is, kind of a limited thing for sure, but whatever, kind of, honestly. So, fine, okay, limited card. Not great, but okay. Cavern of Souls is the big one here. Not a cave. I mean, it's not how it used to be. Big reprint, though. This card, now coming to Pioneer and Standard and Historic, is a pretty big deal. I am very scared for this card in Standard, because if you name Angel in the ramp deck, now the Atraxa and the Angels are uncounterable, and the best answer for Atraxa is a counterspell. So this card scares me. This card might be the card that gets Atraxa banned in Standard, I think, because counterspells are the one card that keeps it really in check. But very powerful card. Also, the other, was it Courtyard or Crossroads, whatever it is still legal in Standard as well. So there are now 8 Cavern of Souls for your tribal deck in Standard, as well as like the Legendary Land, all sorts of stuff too. So Joda and friends, lots of cool stuff you can do with this card. Will make counterspells a little bit worse as well. So obviously a powerful card. It's a reprint. We know how good it is, and don't underestimate the power of this card in a deck that has 5 creatures. We see this card in Modern usually, and think about this card, in Humans or Goblins or whatever. This card was played heavily in Standard in the Titan decks as a way to just force Titan through. And, it's very, very frustrating if you're playing a creature with a powerful ETB and you can't counter it. So, this card's really, really powerful. Very scary card. We'll see what happens. Cavernous Maw, another cave. This cave enters untapped and makes a colorless. And then it's a creature land. Pay 2, make a 3/3. However, you can only activate this if we control 3 or other caves, either in play or in the graveyard. So this will turn on later in the game. It's a pretty powerful creature land when it does, but isn't on yet. But is an untapped cave for all your cave counting stuff, which is pretty good. So Cavernous Maw, pretty cool little card. We got Echoing Deeps, another cave. This is going to be my sleeper card, because I'm not really sure which cave to pick. I just think caves are good. So this is a cave that can come in untapped, add colorless. Or you can have it enter the battlefield tapped as a copy of any land card in the graveyard, but it's also a cave. So this can come in and be a Triome or whatever card might be in a graveyard. It can copy Lotus Field, I guess, in older formats. Sure, is a thing as well. But in Standard, it's just a cave that comes in untapped, and that can do other stuff as well, which is pretty cool. And it only copies lands in graveyards, not in play. It's important to note. This is not a better Thespian stage, but plays well with Dark Depths, whatever, too. So pretty powerful card, older formats, but also just a card that I think we'll see play in Standard as well. And is that Galta? Like a little tiny Galta there? Or is the cave just really big? I don't know. We'll never know, I guess. Forgotten Monument, another cave comes in untapped. This one's pretty powerful too. This one gives all of your other caves tap to be mana confluences. So they all mana fix now, which is very, very important because all the caves are colorless for the most part. They come in untapped. So this is a pretty important card for your cave mana base, probably. And if you just get one of these off of a searching effect, now all your caves tap for any color, which is very important. We got the cycle of 5 common caves. These are all caves that ETB tapped. They all tap for one of the 5 colors. And you can pay 5 mana and tap and sack them and discover 4. So Cascade for a card 4 or less. So pretty cool as a way to kind of make it a spell out of your land. You also get to cast it immediately, which is kind of cool too. So it's like 5 mana, draw a card, and cast it, which is pretty sweet. It'll always be a spell as well. So kind of cool. So these are going to be very important and limited to also turn on your cave stuff as well as just get card advantage out of your lands. We got Pit of Offerings, which ETB's tapped. When ETBs exile 3 cards from a graveyard, and then it can tap for all the colors of the exiled cards as well as colorless. It's a little graveyard hate. We got Promising Vein, which is another common cave. Tap for a colorless mana of any color. And this is our Bombin Common, folks. This is it's like the Shire Terrace or whatever it is from Lord of the Rings. But all of the cave cards count caves in graveyards too. So this is your mana fixer land for limited. That's also going to turn on all your cave stuff. This one's huge. I think it's a Bombin Common for limited for Colorless. I think this card's going to be very, very important for cave decks, for mana fixing in general. Going to be a highly sought after card in the limited format. And then playable constructed also as far as, doing cave stuff. I think this card's great. It's also cool because all the cave cards count your graveyard and play, you can actually exceed your land count when it comes to turning them on in some way. So it's also a descend card at instant speed. This card's great. Shire Terrace was not very good in Lord of the Rings, but contextually, this card is almost the exact same card, and it's 10 times better because of context of the format, as well as being a cave. This is a big one. Bombin Common, Promising Vein. And now we come to Best in Show. We have the allied new creature lands, and they are all just quite good. The ones in the last set, Restless Cottage by far the best one, but they're all quite good. There just aren't a lot of decks that can play them. Like the blue-red one, the blue-green one, there aren't really any Izzet or blue-green decks. But the color pairs here are much better. So we have Restless Anchorage, the blue-white one. This is 3 mana to be a 2/3 flyer, and then for attacks make a map, which is quite good, honestly. There's a number of good blue-white decks in the format. Restless Prairie is my pick for the best one. I don't know if there's a good green-white deck presently, but this thing becomes a 3/3, and then it pumps all of your other creatures when you attack with it, which is pretty powerful. We got Restless Reef, which is a 4/4, and then it mills and attacks with Death Touch. We've got Restless Ridgeline, which is a 3/4 dinosaur, and whenever it attacks, you can untap and give +2/+0 to a different attacking creature. And then the last one here is Restless Vents. Possibly the best one because Rakdos is so good. This is a 3 mana to be a 2/3 Menace. And whenever you attack, you rummage, which is pretty powerful as well. So probably the best of the bunch, I think, is the Rakdos one. But they're all very, very good. Very powerful land cycle. You're going to see a lot of play in Standard, obviously. They have a chance in older formats a little bit here or there. There's like a 1 of or a 2 of. But for Standard, really, really important. Just excellent, excellent lands. A lot of good value. Sunken Citadel is our rare cave. This one, EDB's tapped. Choose a color, and it'll be the mana of that color. It can also add for 2 mana of a chosen color for land sources. So this thing can power up your other caves, which is kind of cool as well. Or cards like Mirrex or whatever, which is pretty sweet. So definitely a nice, powerful effect here on the Citadel as far as mana fixing, and then a little bit extra value there. We got Volatile Fault, which is also an untapped cave for Colorless. This is the Ghost Quarter cave, basically. Pay 1, sack this, destroy non-basic land opponent controls. They get searched for a basic, and you get a treasure. So kind of like the midway point between Field of Ruin and Ghost Quarter, where Ghost Quarter you cost nothing and you get nothing. Field of Ruin costs 2 and you get a land also. This costs 1 and you get a treasure, which is like a little middle of the road, honestly, but a reasonable card to have access to for sure. And it's a cave in the graveyard, which counts for cave stuff too. That's it. That's the whole set review. We did it. Thank you. To recap, we've got best in show are the creature lands. Sleeper card is Echoing Depths, and the Great Door is our trap card, and our Bombin Common, Promising Vein. And that concludes the set review. I'm out. That's it. I'm going home. Closing time. Hit the like button. Leave a comment. Let me know what you think, of course. We got the full set review here. And any misses on YouTube, of course. It's all up on YouTube tomorrow, on Saturday, tomorrow morning. It'll go up as the thing. We ain't doing no commander set. We ain't doing no bonus sheet. There's no bonus sheet for the set. And the guest star cards are just for opening reprints or whatever. Any misses on YouTube, like I said, make sure you like, comment, subscribe, all those things. What's coming up, folks? Oh, let's start here. We got 10 new brews on Thursday. So want to see these cards in action? That's me. I'm all ready to go. Gonna build 10 new decks as I always do. Lots of fun stuff. I'm pumped to build my 10 new brews. That's on Thursday. They'll go up on YouTube. My article on Friday on cool stuff will be all about the decks that I build. That's a lot of fun. We got Bronze to Mythic as well. It's gonna be happening next Tuesday when the set releases on the 14th. We'll do episode 1 as a night show, and then we'll be doing it during the day on the week as we go to Mythic and learn the draft format. And then we got the Paladin pre-release as well, which is going to be on the 18th. Free to play if you're a Twitch sub or YouTube member. Get in the Discord, come hang out, free to play with prizes. If you're a Pile Driver, we got Poker once a month, Commander once a month, Spell Table. We do fantasy hockey, fantasy football, all sorts of fun stuff, all free to play, all prizes, all in the Discord. Get your ass in there, all right? Otherwise, I'm done. YouTube folks love you. Like, comment, subscribe. Check out all the stuff. Hit the buttons. Appreciate it.